Alright, what up guys, Shook here. I'm going to bring you a little tutorial on how I make CCs and Magic Bullet looks for Sony Vegas. So pretty much what you want to do is disable, resample, all the stuff you're supposed to do. Make sure the preview is on best full if you have a high resolution screen like I do. Also, this happens to me, I don't know if it happens to other people, but if when you drag on Magic Bullet looks, there's a little yellow checked box for assume linear gamma. You're gonna want to uncheck that, and let me just find a spot where I want to see right there. Now we're gonna go edit. So I'm gonna give you guys the setup I use. You don't really have to use the setup. Of course, if you learn how to use Magic Bullet looks, you can change the setup, but this is the setup I use. Usually I add for subject saturation and contrast. Now for saturation, really depends on what you're editing, but I'd say if you're editing something like rock, you want to keep it under 90 and even go lower than, I usually run around 80. And if it's like for trick shots, usually go a little bit higher, 105, stuff like that, like D&B music, stuff like that. And for contrast, usually put a quarter of contrast on. It really brands it up. Also on content balance, on saturation, I usually put it in the middle, especially if you're using increased saturation instead of lowered. I think it just looks a lot cleaner. And for matte, just drag on diffusion. I suggest if you're gonna leave this diffusion on, dropping it down a lot. It really depends on the map you're using this on, but usually you want this is what I have on, where highlights at 100, usually 2% on the size. As the color, I usually have it around something like that. It really depends what kind of music, but you could just play with the colors. You can see the glow here. For lens, I usually run grad exposure. Increase the fallout to about 1 and just start messing with it. You see, with diffusion, it makes it brings out the blues a lot more. Also, what I like to use is vignette because it gives it a lot cleaner look. And I suggest instead of dragging them out like this, pretty much just using the numerical values on the side. So for strength, I usually run 65, and then aspect depends really what kind of how bright your CC is and how bright the maps are. Usually just mess with this. You know, nothing looks that bad. Oh, also in Sony Vegas, if you're making CCs and you get this really random like bright yellow colors, that's because the CC is too bright. And of course, it's not After Effects quality, so of course Sony Vegas can't match After Effects' types of CCs. So be careful not to get any really bright yellow spots. It makes the video look bad. Alright, for post, I usually run Chemistry 3-way, which is what gives you the tones and a curve, but usually just add some brightness to it since the contrast is on this side already. And for Chemistry 3-way, for highlight, I like to leave this golden yellow almost. For midtones and shadows, you want to just make one of these the same as highlight or similar to highlight, and leave another one in a different color. So like, say go to shadows, just mess with it like that. There's no real wrong answer, I guess you can say, to making CCs. It really all depends on what you like. You can see the tones there. So yeah, usually that's what I have it on. This is the setup I usually use. Every once in a while I add more things to the lens. Things like, especially for hardcore, I'll add this. It gives you like an RGB split. Just trying to figure this out. So yeah, it gives it like a little RGB split. Nothing too crazy. You kind of see on the whites, see there, a little bit RGB split. But I usually just use that for hardcore. And the flares, if people are wondering how you do flares on certain things, this is how you do it in Sony Vegas. The easiest way, I guess you could say. Yeah, but these obviously you don't want them that big, unless you know that's what you're going for. But yeah, usually something like within the white will look best, but you still get a lot of rays. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much what I use for when I make CCs. Hope you found this helpful, and if you did, leave a like and check out my other videos. Alright guys, thanks for watching.